Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be making a sweater for a 2-year-old. We're going to be using a stitch that creates a beautiful texture, and we're going to be doing it in a stripy pattern. The stitch we're going to be using is a combination of the double crochet and the single crochet. This sweater has a ribbed cuff and a ribbed hemline and a ribbed collar, and otherwise we're going to be using this combination stitch of the single crochet and the double crochet. So if you're interested in making this 2-year-old, 24-month sized sweater with me, keep watching. For this project, you're going to need some yarn. I'm using about 3 balls of yarn for this, 3 50-gram balls. I've got the brown, this is called, I think it's called Spruce. It's kind of a brownish green. And then I've got this turquoise color, and then I've got a little bit of scraps of other colors, some light pink and some variegated pink and purple. These are about a number 3-4 weight, so somewhere between DK and worsted. And like I said, I'm going to be using about 3 skeins of this yarn. You'll also need a crochet hook. I'm going to be using a 5.5mm hook today. You'll also need scissors as well as a yarn needle to weave in your ends and to sew the sweater together. I'm also going to be using a measuring tape so I can let you know the final measurements of all the pieces before we put the sweater together. So gather your supplies and let's jump in. Starting with that brown army green color, I'm going to begin with a slip knot. From here, I'm going to chain 53. 1, 2, 3, 4, 51, 52, 53. Now in the 4th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to do a double crochet. Yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'm going to double crochet across the row. I'm going to zoom through the double crochets, and I'll see you at the end of row number 1. Here I am coming up to the end of row number 1. Row number 1 is going to end up with 50 stitches in it. There is my last double crochet of row number 1, and there we go. This is such soft yarn. All right, for row number 2, we're gonna start with a chain of 2, 1 and 2, and then we'll turn the work. From here, I'm going to be doing the front post, back post, double crochet rib stitch. So, front post double crochet goes like this. Yarn over, bring the hook in front of the work, and then insert it down into the big space between the stitches. Then come up again, so that you're pulling that whole post, the entire double crochet stitch, forward, down through the work, up through the work, in the spaces between the double crochets. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's a front post double crochet. So we're working the post, this whole post of each of the double crochet stitches. Next, we're going to do a back post double crochet. Yarn over, bring the hook behind the work, and then come up through the work, and then we'll come back down through the work, pulling that whole post to the back, like this. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, another front post, yarn over, come down through the work and back up, pulling that post forward. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then a back post, yarn over, come through the back of the work, pulling that whole post back. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then a front post double crochet, and then a back post double crochet. If you're brand new and that was a little bit too fast for you, I'm going to link a tutorial up in the top corner now, and you can use that tutorial to master the front post, back post, double crochet rib stitch. I'm going to repeat front post, back post, double crochet all the way across for row number 2. I'm going to zoom through the rest of row number 2, and I'll meet you at the end to show you what we're going to do next for row number 3. Here I am coming up to the end of row number 2. I'll put my last front post double crochet in, And now at the end of the row, there is the chain 3 where we started our double crochets. And in that big space at the end of the row, after you do your last front post double crochet, in this big space, we're gonna put a double crochet in that whole large space. Just like that. Sorry if you hear my birds, they're just chatting in the kitchen. All right, and now from here for row number 3, we're gonna start with a chain 2 and turn. And now we're going to do the reverse. We're gonna start with a back post double crochet and then do back post, front post, back post, front post, all the way across. So yarn over, complete a back post double crochet, yarn over, front post. And it's easier to decide where to put your yarn, or where to put your hook rather, because the stitches are already pulled in the direction. So we can do a back post here, and then you see this one's already pulled forward, so it lets you know this is where we're gonna put a front post. Easy peasy. And I'm gonna repeat that all the way across for this row. Back post, front post, back post, front post, all the way across. And I'll meet you at the end of this row to show you what we're gonna do next. We're gonna be doing our first color change at the end of this row. So I'll see you when I get there. Here I am coming up to the end of that row of back post, front post, double crochets. I just did my last back post, and now I'm gonna do a regular double crochet to finish off my row. But before I do my last yarn over and pull through, I'm gonna cut my yarn here, and I'm gonna change colors into the blue-green sort of teal color. I'm just gonna tie a loose knot so that we can weave that end in later. And I'm going to finish the last yarn over pull through of the double crochet with the green yarn. Now I'm going to chain 1 and turn. And for this next row, I'm gonna start my count again here because this section is the ribbed stitch. I'm gonna start the count of rows again here for this body portion. And now for row number 1, we're gonna start with single crochets. So I'm gonna put a single crochet into this big space between the double crochets. So you can see there's this large space between each of the posts. I'm gonna put my hook into that spot and do a single crochet. And then into the next one, see, normally we would put our stitch up here in the top of the stitch. We're putting it into the large space between the stitches. And I'm just gonna do insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both. Insert the hook into the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both. And I'm gonna do that all the way across for this first row before we get into our stitch, which is gonna be a double crochet, single crochet variation. We're just gonna start with a single crochet row to create a nice straight base for our stitches. So I'll just zoom through the rest of this single crochet row, and I'll see you at the end of row number 1 here to show you what we're gonna do next. Here I am at the end of row number 1. I've just got one space to put one more single crochet in. And from here, for row number 2, we're gonna start with a chain of 2, 1 and 2, and then we'll turn the work. Now, in the first stitch here, we're going to put a double crochet, yarn over, insert the hook into the stitch, yarn over again and pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. In the second stitch, we're gonna put a single crochet. In the third stitch, a double crochet, and then a single crochet, and then a double crochet. And we're gonna repeat that all the way across. Single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, until we reach the end of row number 2. I'm gonna zoom through this row and I'll show you what it looks like at the end of the row, and I'll show you how we're going to move forward with this stitch. Here I am coming up to the end of row number 2. I've got a single crochet. Now I'm gonna do a double crochet in the second last stitch, and I'm finishing the row with a single crochet. So I'm gonna do 1 single crochet in the last stitch of the row. And this allows us to start the next row with a double crochet, and I'll show you why. We're gonna start with a chain 2 for row number 3, and then we'll turn the work. And now you can see we have a double crochet right here and then a single crochet here. For this next row, we're going to be doing the reverse of what we did. So every double crochet, we're going to be putting a single crochet in. Every single crochet, we're going to put a double crochet in. So since we finished the row on a single crochet, we're going to start the row on a double crochet. So there's 1 double crochet in the first stitch. And then you can see the second stitch of the row is a double crochet. So in that one, we'll put a single crochet. And then the third stitch is a single crochet, so we're gonna put a double crochet. And then the next one's a double crochet, so we'll put a single crochet. Basically, we're just doing the opposite. We're going to make sure that every stitch that we work into, we're not putting the same stitch into. So if we're coming to a single crochet, we're always gonna put a double crochet in there. And because we finished on a single crochet, we get to start on a double crochet, meaning the row is exactly the same as the previous row. That was a lot of words and I hope it made sense, but we're gonna repeat that all the way across. Single crochet into the double crochet into the single crochet. And I'm gonna zoom through this next row. I'll meet you at the end of the row to show you what we're gonna do next. Here I am at the end of that third row. I'm gonna do a single crochet to finish the row off. And then I'm gonna start the next row with a chain of 2 and turn. And I'm gonna do one more row this exact same way. I'll start with a double crochet in the first stitch, and then I'll move into a single crochet, and then I'll double crochet, single crochet across. And when I get to the end of this fourth row, we're gonna switch colors and I'll show you what that looks like. I'll just zoom through this row and I'll see you at the end of the row to show you what we'll do next. Look at how cool this texture looks. By doing the single crochet and then the double crochet and then the reverse on the following row, it just creates something a little bit more interesting than like a straight single crochet or a straight double crochet. Isn't that pretty? Anyway, we've made it to the end of our fourth row here with our little repeat, and now it's time for us to switch colors. I'm just gonna finish this row in the teal. There's my last double crochet and now my last single crochet, but to finish the single crochet, I wanna change colors. So I'm gonna go in with this variegated pink and purple yarn. I'll just do a nice loose knot so it's easier to weave in later. And then I'll finish this single crochet with the new yarn. And then I'll start the next row with a chain of 2 and turn. And I'm going to follow the exact same repeat where we do a double crochet and then a single crochet repeated all the way across. And I'm gonna do 3 rows in this color, I think. 1, 2, 3 rows in this color, yeah. And then I'm gonna switch back in to the turquoise blue and I'm gonna do 6 rows, I think. Yeah. So I'm gonna do 3 rows of this variegated pink, and then I'll do 6 rows in the green, and then I'm gonna do 2 rows in the brown. And I'm just gonna create a repeat until I get to row number, all right, I counted it back. We have to do 23 rows like this. So I'm gonna switch my colors as it makes sense for me. I will let you know what those rows are when I finish, but I'm going to end up doing 23 rows in this repeat. No increases or decreases anywhere, just this exact same repeat for 23 rows total. So I will go through the teal, then the pink, then the teal again, then the brownish green, then the teal again, then a pink, and I will meet you back here at the end of row number 23 to show you what we're gonna do next to begin the armpit shaping. At that point, I'll also tell you how many rows of each color I ended up with. All right, here I am coming up to the end of my last row before we're gonna start doing armpit shaping. And at this point, I'm gonna count out my rows so I can tell you where I changed colors, how many rows of each color I ended up with. So I'm gonna finish the row with my single crochet and I'm gonna trim the yarn here and pull that final stitch through so that you can see what we're working with. At this point, my little sweater body portion measures just about 7 inches tall and about 14 to 14 and a half inches across. So that's the size we're working with. I did a single crochet row and then 3 rows of the single crochet double crochet in the teal, followed by 3 rows in the variegated pink and purple, followed by 6 rows in the teal, followed by 3 rows in the brown, followed by 3 rows in the teal, followed by 3 rows in the pink. And this is how the stripe is looking at this point. And now we're going to be working a smaller rectangle to create the armpit shaping for the front and back body pieces. So let's jump into that now. So we're gonna start by counting in here 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I'm going to put a stitch marker in that 10th stitch. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Put a stitch marker there. And this next part, we're going to be crocheting between the 2 stitch marked points. Rohan. I'm going to be going in with this teal color again. I'm going to be picking up the stitch after the stitch marker. So there's my 10th stitch. I'm going to insert my hook into the stitch right after it. And then I'm going to loop my yarn around my new blue yarn and pull a loop through like that. Then I'll chain 1 with both the working yarn and the tail. And then I'll just pull that down. Now I can drop the tail. And you can see here, the spot where we've taken our loop up is a single crochet. So we're going to be following the same pattern that we've been doing for this stitch. So in this single crochet stitch, we're going to put a double crochet. This is just our connection. Now we're going to put a double crochet into that spot. And then in the next stitch, which is a double crochet, we're going to put a single crochet. And I'm just going to crochet over the tail so I don't have to weave that in. Then the next one is a single crochet, so I'll put a double. And then the next one is a double, so I'll put a single. And I'm going to repeat it, the same pattern all the way to the second stitch marker. So I'll zip through these and I'll meet you at the second stitch marker to show you what we're going to do. Here I am at the second stitch marker, and the last stitch of the new row is a single crochet. We're not working into the stitch marker. And then I'm going to chain 2 and turn. And from here, I'm going to single crochet in the second stitch. And then continue with the exact same pattern with the new blue yarn between the 2 stitch markers. And we're just going to be repeating that until we have about 10 rows. I'm going to let you know exactly how many rows it ends up, but basically we need to get up to the point where we start doing the neckline and shoulder shaping. So I'm gonna have one more color change in there. I'm gonna be changing back to the brown after, I think it's 6 rows of the green I'm gonna do. So we did brown, green, pink, green, and then it'll be brown, and then green will be the final color on this, or teal, whatever, for this shoulder shaping. So I'm gonna zoom through this part because it's just a repeat of the same stitch, and I'll come back when it's time to do the shoulder shaping to give you some measurements as well as row counts. See you then. All right, here's how it's looking after 10 rows. I did 6 in the teal, and then I did 3 in the brown, and then I did 1 more in the teal. We should be, yeah, we're right around 3.5 inches at this point, and we need to get up to 5 inches. So this is the front body piece of the sweater. And this is the point where we're going to start doing the shaping. So if you think about the neck, lowest point being here, we need to create some tapers to come up to the shoulder. So on one side, we're going to continue moving up straight. And on the other side, we're going to be stopping early and kind of reducing our rows up to the shoulder. So let me just find my middle point. All right, so I've marked 1 stitch on either side of my center stitch. So this is my center stitch. I've marked 1 stitch on either side so that I know where to stop my row. I'm not going to work this one, I'm going to work these ones, and that is 14 stitches. So this 14 stitch row that we're going to do, we're going to be tapering it so that the following row is 13 stitches, the following row is 12 stitches, the following row is 11, and the following is 10. We're going to taper it down to 10 stitches here. So let's get into it. We're still going to be following the same stitch pattern. So I'll start with a chain of 2, skip that first single crochet, and then in the double crochet following it, I'm going to put a single crochet. And I'm just gonna work a normal row until I get to my stitch marker. And when I get to the stitch marker, I'm gonna be doing something a little different. So I'll meet you at the stitch marker to show you what we're gonna do. All right, so the stitch before the stitch marker, that's where we're gonna be finishing our row. Excuse you, Beelzebub. That's where we're gonna finish our row, and it is on a double crochet. So for this part, I am not going to chain 1. So we finished on a double crochet, and then I'm just gonna turn the work around. And now I'm gonna skip the first stitch altogether, and in the second stitch, I'm gonna do my double crochet. And that skipped stitch is going to create a taper where we've now reduced the number of stitches in this first row by 1 stitch. I'm going to follow the same stitch pattern all the way to the end of the row, and at the end of the row I'm going to chain 2 and turn. Here I am at the end of the row, put my last single crochet in, chain 2 and turn, and now we're going to start the row as we have at the beginning of every row. So I'll do my stitches as normal until I get to the end of this row, and I'll show you. I'll just stick with you for this. I won't zoom through it, just so I can show you where we're going to stop the row in order to continue that taper. So I'm at the end of the row now. You can see where we've got our last stitch here. So we've got our first stitch of the row right here. We're going to not put anything in that last stitch. This is our final stitch of the row. So we're going to do a double crochet to finish our row. So on our first row, we had a double crochet finishing, and then the second one, we finished the row here, and then we turned around without chaining 1 and worked into the second stitch. We're gonna do the same thing here. We finished with a double crochet. We're not gonna chain 1. We're gonna turn the work around. We're gonna skip that first double crochet, and then we're gonna put our double crochet into the single crochet. And look, you can see the reduction happening now. So start counting the stitches here. We want to make sure we're not going to go lower than 10. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And just like that, we've reduced our row. 14, 13, 12, 11, and now we're at 10. So there's 10 stitches in the row now. Now, to finish ourselves off here, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to do a row of just single crochets just to straighten out the shoulder and make it a little easier to put the final seam together. We're going to put 1 stitch, 1 single crochet in each stitch across. Nothing special or fancy here, not continuing the same stitch pattern. And that's going to be it for the first shoulder. Then we're going to repeat it exactly the same. We're going to do the same thing on the other shoulder. So I'm going to zoom through that second shoulder because it's the exact same instructions, and I will see you at the end of the row, or at the end of the shoulder, to show you what we're going to do next. All right, so here's how it looks after I've done both shoulders. You can see the neckline for the front. Now let's do the back. All right, here I am at the point where we started the front neckline. We need to move the neckline up a little bit because generally the back of a sweater is higher than the front. So here's what the front looks like. So this is the spot on the front where we would have done the shoulder shaping, but we have to bring it up a couple rows. So we're going to do another 2 rows in the teal color before we start the shoulder shaping for the back body piece. So that's going to bring us to about this point here, and then we'll only have a little bit to do for the back shoulder shaping. Let me do another 2 rows in the teal, and I'll come back here to show you how to do the back shoulder shaping. And that's going to be it for the body pieces, and we'll be able to move on to the sleeve. All right, here's how it's looking after another 2 rows for the back piece. I'm just finishing off my last couple of stitches here. And now we've done an additional 2 rows, which means we have 2 rows less to do our reductions. And we need to finish with 10 stitches at the top of the shoulder. That way the front and the back can match up. So to get it to match up, we have to do 12 stitches for our reduction. For this one, we did 14. And then if we take 2 rows away, that's 14, 13. We remove those 2, which means we're going to 12. I hope that makes sense. We're doing the exact same process for this, but with 12 stitches as our first count. So start with 12 stitches on the first shoulder here. We're gonna skip that one, put a double crochet in. 1, 2, 3, 11, and 12. And now we're not going to chain 1, just turn the work and then skip the first stitch and put our double crochet in the second stitch. And then we'll be down to 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 11. And then we'll chain 1 and turn. And now we're just going to crochet into the 10 stitches, the next 10 stitches here. So 1, 2, 3, 9, and 10. And that is it for our reductions, and we're just going to chain one and turn here, and then we're going to do a row of single crochets. So we've been repeating our double crochet, single crochet pattern. For this last row, we're just going to do single crochets, and that's just going to create that nice edge, which will make it easier for us to assemble the sweater in the end. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side to make my second shoulder, 12 stitches to 11 stitches, 11 stitches to 10, and then 10 stitches in single crochets. And I'll meet you back here once I finish the second shoulder. All right, there's what the back is looking like now. You can see the neck is a little wider at the back and a little higher up. So if I put the front piece on top of the back piece, the shoulders both end up being 10 stitches, but the front piece goes a little lower and has a bit more of a curve like that. So let's do a little measuring now. For the front piece first, so the measurements are going to be the same up to the shoulder shaping. So for the lower portion of the body, we have 15 inches across, and the total height at the top of the shoulder is 11 inches tall. The inner body section is 9 inches. Each of the spaces for the arms, these spaces, are about 3 inches. Then the shoulders, the front neckline begins reducing from 4 inches and it reduces down to 3 inches. And the back starts the reduction at 3.5 inches and reduces down to 3 inches. The height from the armpit up to the top of the shoulder is just about 5 inches, which is great because it needs to fit in a 10-inch sleeve, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Now, let's take a second and weave in all of these ends before we get started on the sleeve. All right, I've woven in all the ends except for the original tails at the beginning of the sweater because I'm going to use those to sew this part together. And now let's jump in to the sleeves. To begin the sleeve, we're going to start again in the brown yarn. I'm going to begin with a chain of 33. 1, 2, 3, 30, 31, 32, and 33. From here, in the fourth chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I'm going to do a double crochet. Then I'll double crochet across. Here I am coming up to the end of my double crochet row. And from here, I'm going to be following the exact same pattern that I did for the body pieces, but this is a smaller row. So we started with 53 for the body, 33 for the sleeves. I'll chain 2 and turn. Now I'm going to do 2 rows of front post, back post, double crochets, the exact same way that we did for the body. If you need a refresher, go back to that beginning section. And then after that, I'm going to transition into our modified stitch, the one where we do double crochet, double crochet, with the alternate row going single crochet, double crochet, single crochet. There's no increases in this one. The stitch sort of flares out on its own. I'm going to begin though with a row of single crochets before I get into our modified stitch. So I'm going to transition into the teal blue yarn after my front post, back post, double crochet rows. I'll do 1 row of single crochets, and after that I will transition into our modified stitch of double crochet, double crochet, single crochet repeated. On alternate rows, it will be single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet repeated, and I am going to do that for a total of 10 inches of fabric. However many rows it takes you to get to 10 inches of fabric, that is how many you're going to have to do. I will let you know how many rows I end up using once I finish this first sleeve, but I'm going to do 10 inches for the final length, and it's actually 10 inches in width as well. So 10 inches in length and 10 inches in width for this sleeve. So I'm going to zoom through it because it's the exact same instructions as the body piece. We're just going straight up. So it's like the first section of the body piece. I'm going to do my color changes at the same rate that I did for the body. And I will meet you when I get to 10 inches to show you what we're going to do next and how the sleeve is shaping up. All right, I've just finished my last stitch of the sleeve, and there are 30 rows in my sleeve, which makes sense because there are 30 stitches across, and I said we were aiming for a square, so that is pretty much perfect. So if I've done my measurements correctly, yes, we have 10 inches long and we have 10 inches across. That is what we're looking for the sleeve. Now you have to make 2 of the sleeves, of course. So 10 inches by 10 inches. We've got the little cuff. I'm going to take a minute here and weave in all of these sleeve ends, and then I'll come back here and show you how to put it all together. All right, that took a little while, but all the ends are now woven in and we can get to assembly. So we've measured all the pieces, and now when we're putting together a sweater, we start with the body pieces. We stitch together the shoulders, and then we'll open it up and we'll add the sleeves in. So to stitch the shoulders together, I'm gonna line them up, and then I'm going to take the tiny remnants of the green blue yarn that I have here, and I am going to stitch them together. Am I gonna do sewing or am I going to do crochet? I think I'm gonna do crochet. All right, so with my crochet hook, I'm going to pick up the first stitch on the edge of one piece, and then the first stitch on the edge of the second piece. I have my garment with the right sides together. So the right sides are the sides that go edge stitch, front post. See, edge stitch, front post. The back side of the fabric goes edge stitch, back post. So I've got the front sides together, right sides together, and I'm gonna pick up the first stitch on both pieces, and then I will yarn over with my yarn here and pull a loop through. Then I'm gonna chain 1 and I'm gonna pull that chain down nice and tight. Then I'll let go of the tail just like that. And now I'm going to single crochet across this row. So I'll put 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across, and I'm putting it through both pieces of fabric. So insert into the second stitch on the front piece and on the back piece, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both. And I'm just going to single crochet just like that all the way across. There's only 10 stitches in the row, so it's a short little row of single crochets. And I'm just crocheting over the tail as well. And it'll just take a second to get over to that side. And once I get over to the side, I'm going to trim the yarn and weave that end in, and I'm going to weave it in such that it will completely disappear and we won't have to worry about it later. All right, we're almost done. Just 2 more stitches. There's 1, and here's the last stitch of the row. There it is, and there it is. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops, and then I'll just take my scissors, trim my yarn, pull that last loop through, and then I'm gonna weave that in. And I'll do the same thing to the other shoulder. All right, there we go. Both shoulders are stitched together. And now let's put in the sleeves. To do that, we're gonna open up the sweater. The seam is facing up, and I'm just gonna stretch it out on the table here. And then I'll grab one of the sleeves, and I'm gonna find the right side of the sleeve. So again, the right side goes edge stitch, front post. The back of the sleeve goes edge stitch, back post. See? So this is the right side of the fabric. We want the right side of the fabric facing down. Now we're gonna line it up in the space. Fits so perfect. I love when that happens. So because we made it 10 inches wide, if you remember, this is 5 inches and that's 5 inches. So the sleeve, the 10-inch sleeve, fits perfectly. And we're gonna line it up so that the pink from the edge matches up. We want this nice clean rectangle here. And now maybe I should stitch it in pink. I was planning on stitching it in brown, but pink might look good. No, I think I should stick to brown because the shoulder area here is gonna be brown. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the brown yarn and I'm gonna get a nice long piece, probably like 5 feet long, and then we're gonna fold it over with the yarn needle. So I'm gonna string up my yarn needle with probably 2.5 feet, maybe even 3 feet on either side, like this. And then with my yarn needle and my string here, I'm going to grab the first stitch on the corner of the body piece, and then I'm going to grab the first stitch. Let me zoom you in. So the first stitch on the body piece, and then the first stitch of pink on the row of the sleeve. I'm going to just pull it through there, and then I'll tie a little knot to secure my yarn. And this doesn't need to be anything pretty. We're gonna cover it anyway. So now we're gonna do the blanket stitch for this part. I will link in the corner now and in the description down below a more detailed tutorial for the blanket stitch, but here is how I do it. So I'm gonna insert the needle into the next stitch in the pink yarn through the whole stitch, and then I'm gonna stick the needle up through the sleeve in the second row. So here's our first row, there's our second row, and I'll just insert the needle like that after the first stitch. And then I pull the needle through, pull the yarn through, and there's this loop left behind. I'm gonna pass the needle down through that loop, and then I'll pull it nice and snug, and it creates a blanket stitch, just like that. And then insert the needle into the next stitch, into the next row, just like that, and then pass the needle down through that loop, and pull the stitch nice and tight, just like that. See those 2 blanket stitches, nice clean stitches into the next stitch, and now we're into the blue yarn. And then I'm going to continue that all the way up the work until I reach the corner, and I'll meet you when I reach the corner to show you how I'm gonna get around and how we're gonna get to the next step here. So here I am, I've made it up to the corner. There are my blanket stitches. Now in the corner stitch, I'm going to just grab the spot where the pink and the green are actually meeting right here. And then I'll pick up my last stitch in the row, or my last stitch that meets the corner here, and do my last blanket stitch this way. And then I'm gonna grab the same stitch, just in a slightly different location, but it's the same stitch. And then I will grab the following stitch to move across the top. It's not super important where you put your stitches, you just want it to stay even. Where this center seam is, you want that to be at the halfway part of the sleeve. So if you fold your sleeve over or count your stitches, mark where the sleeve actually, the center of it is. You can mark it with a stitch marker or tie it with a piece of yarn, but just mark that so you know, keep your stitches even across here until you get to this point. Now I'm going to blanket stitch all the way across the top and then down the other side to connect the rest of the sleeve. Again, if you need a little more help with this stitch, check out the link. And there we go. The first sleeve is in. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. All right, both sleeves are now attached. And now if we turn the sweater so that the neckline, you can see this is the front neckline because it goes down more. This is the back neckline. If we grab the shoulders at the shoulder seams and flip it, then you can see now it looks like a little sweater. Isn't it cute? All right, now it's time to put the thing together. So I think I'm gonna start by putting together these side seams. I'm gonna use the tail here and put the tail on my sewing needle, the tail of the body piece. And I'm gonna use that tail to actually stitch together just the rib stitch section so that it stays brown here. So I'm going to, it's already attached on one end, so I'm gonna pick up the first stitch on the other end and just stitch through, and then I'll come back to the first piece, stick the needle up and stitch through, back to the second piece, up and through, and I'll just go up and down to close up that seam. And I'm just going through the different chain stitches on the way up. There we go. Once I get to the top here, got that all together, then I'll just sort of stitch the yarn down again with a little bit less intentionality. This time I'm just stitching it down to weave my end in. Then I'll stretch out that seam here, and then I'll just finish weaving in the end. If you hear a weird noise, it's the bird on my shoulder. She's interested in what I'm doing. And there we go. Now that seam is stitched together, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. I think I was out of frame, so I'm going to do it with you rather than just zoom through it. I'll zoom out a little bit. So I will take the little bit of yarn here, thread my yarn needle, line it up to the other side. Hi. And then I'll just stitch this closed. And I don't know, this might be called the mattress stitch, but I'm basically just zigzagging back and forth through both pieces. Hi, made it up to the top. Then I'll just stick the needle through a few times to weave the end in. And there we go, all put together just like that. And now the bottom hemline is together. It's all one secure piece. And now I'm gonna flip over and I'm gonna start at the cuff here at the wrist. And I'm gonna pick up my brown yarn with my crochet hook, and we're gonna be single crocheting this seam together. So to do that, I'm going to grab the first stitch on the cuff on both pieces, on the front of it and the back piece. It's all one piece, but it's folded over. It's a little bit snug, that first bit. I'm trying to get it through that top chain stitch. And then I will just take my yarn and loop it over the hook, pull a loop through, chain 1, then I'll drop the tail. Then I'm going to insert the hook into the first stitch on the cuff and do a single crochet. And then I will insert it into the first stitch on the second row on both sides and do a single crochet, and then the third stitch, or the first stitch on the third row, and then the first stitch on the fourth row. And now it's going to be much of the same all the way up the work. So I'm going to be lining up the side of the sleeve and putting a single crochet into the first stitch of each row. So there's my row number 1, here's row number 2, row number 2, then row number 3, and I'm just going to repeat that all the way up until we reach the armpit, and just keep it lined up as best you can, 1 stitch in each first stitch of the row all the way up. So I'll zoom through the rest of this part and I'll meet you at the armpit to show you how we're going to turn the corner and move down the body. All right, I've made it to the corner now. And in that corner stitch where the pink line meets the green line, I'm going to put 1 stitch into there. And then I'm going to turn the work a little bit. And pretty much it's the same stitch, just going the other way now. I'm going to put a single crochet into the pink side. And now I'm going to just single crochet down the side of the work until I reach that spot where we sewed together the bottom hemline. It's just 1 single crochet in each stitch, or in the first stitch of each row rather, all the way down until we meet that bottom hemline. And I'll meet you when we get to the hem. All right, here I am at the bottom where the cuff, or the hemline rather, meets the body portion. I'm gonna put my last single crochet in there, and then I'll trim my yarn, pull it through, and then I'll be weaving in that end. And now we have the sleeve stitched together and the side body. And now I have to do the exact same thing on the other side. All right, here I am coming up to the end of the second side seam, which means we're just about finished. Just putting my last stitch in here. There we go, and then I'll cut that, pull it through and weave in that end. And then we're gonna get on to the collar, and it's almost done. All right, the ends are woven in, trimmed, and ready. Now we have a little sweater. So now with our little sweater here, we've got a front and a back. You can see the front is lower. We're gonna turn it inside out. So we've got the seams on the outside right now. We're gonna flip it around. And now we're gonna put the front forward. We'll turn out these sleeves. Very cute. This will definitely fit up to a 2-year-old. That I can say. It's looking a little bit wide. All right, now we're gonna put in a collar. It's gonna be a simple collar because we don't want it to be too tight, but we're gonna go in with the pink for this collar. First, we're gonna do a round of pink, and then we'll switch into the brown yarn to do the final front post, back post double crochet. So I'm gonna attach the pink yarn at the back so that there is no visible seams or anything on the final garment. We're gonna pull up a loop just like this, chain 1, and then we're gonna do a round here of single crochets. So I'll put a single crochet in the same spot that chain 1 just came out of, and then I'm gonna single crochet around the entire neckline just 1 time, just to sort of shore up the neckline and create a nice even sort of collar shape to work with when we're doing our front post, back post double crochets. So just 1 time in each stitch, and when I'm going up the rows like I am here, I'll just put 1 single crochet in the first stitch of the row, and so on and so forth all the way around the work. All right, I've made it around the round, and I know the cuffs and the hemline are brown, but I kind of want to make the collar in pink. I was planning on just doing a round of pink and then switching into the brown to do the rest of the collar, but I think I want to do the front post, back post double crochet section in this pink. Do you think that would be totally weird? I think it'll be cute. Okay, we're gonna do that. So I joined the round, I'm gonna chain 2, and then I'm gonna do a round now of double crochets. And when I get to the end of this round, I will be all set to do my front post, back post double crochet rounds. So this round is just 1 double crochet in each of those single crochets from the previous round to set us up for 1 or 2 rounds of front post, back post. I'm gonna zoom through this double crochet round because it's just double crochets all the way around. I'll meet you at the end of the round to show you the next steps. All right, I made it to the end of my double crochet round. Now I'm going to slip stitch the round together, chain 2, and now I'll do a round where I put one front post, double crochet, and then a back post, and then front post, and then back post all the way around. It's just the same thing that we did for the cuffs and for the hem. We're just gonna do it all the way around for this neckline. And I know I said a couple of rounds, but I think we're only gonna need to do it one round because that's already high enough for a baby head. So I'll meet you at the end of this round to show you how we're gonna finish it off. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, so I love the pink, so I'm happy with that. I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit of self-doubt here that the pink is the right choice though. I know everything else is brown, but I just feel like I wanted to have a little bit of lightness around the top. I'm gonna stick with it. It was my first thought, I'm going with it. So I'm gonna cut the yarn now, weave in this last end. Just gonna pull the loop through one more time, weave in this last end, and then, okay, come on, look how cute it is, ta-da! It's finished! The 18-month to 2-year, so 18 to 24 month sweater is complete. It is so cozy. This single crochet, double crochet stitch creates this almost lacy texture. Look at how cute that is. This turned out so good. Oh, I'm so excited to see it on the little one who it's for. We used the brown yarn for the seams, but even so, because that stitch is so busy, it's not a very visible seam in the actual final garment. I love that we did the pink neckline. The front post, back post ties it into the whole garment, but I think the pink at the top is just darling, and I think it turned out so sweet. I love the stripe pattern we went with. I think that was a good choice. How cute is that? I think that turned out really cool. You know what this would have actually been really cool for though? If you had a baby with an H for their name, it creates a natural H, or a lederhosen, I suppose, but that's just the way the stripe lined up for me. But what do you think? Isn't it cute? Oh gosh, this is so sweet. All right, so there is the final project, the stripey 18 to 24 month baby sweater. Let me know what you think in the comments down below if you liked this one and if you want to see more like it, whatever you guys want to see, so you let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to everyone who is supporting the channel this month. You guys are awesome. Here is the list of channel supporters. You guys are the best. I really appreciate you. If you would like to show your support and join the Patreon or become a member of our private Discord server, check the links in the description box down below. All the ways to support will be listed down there, as well as all related tutorials that will help you to create this gorgeous sweater. Anyway, friends, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you again next week. Oh wait, one more thing. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, like the video, leave a comment, share the video, come to the live streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 a.m. to noon, or check out the tutorials every Tuesday. That's 4 days a week you can get content here. All right, see you next week. Bye!